US and Saudi Arabia signed €127 billion arms deal on first day of Trump's regional tours. US President Donald Trump signed a host of economic and bilateral cooperation agreements in Saudi Arabia on Tuesday, the start of his 4-day Middle East tour. The aim of his trip to the oil-rich kingdom was deal, and Trump has already secured a $142 billion defense agreement with the country as de facto ruler, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. That agreement will see Washington provide Riyadh with state-of-the-art warfighting equipment in return for a Saudi investment of $20 billion in the U.S. artificial intelligence sector. In total, the two leaders signed more than a dozen agreements to increase cooperation between their governments' militaries, justice departments, and cultural institutions. Additional economic agreements are expected to be inked later on Tuesday at a U.S.-Saudi investment conference, which has been put together to coincide with Trump's visit. Bin Salman already committed to $600 billion in new Saudi investment in the U.S., but Trump teased $1 trillion would be even better. "I really believe we like each other a lot," Trump said on Tuesday while sitting next to the Crown Prince at the start of their bilateral meeting. Next up, Qatar. The other two countries on Trump's itinerary are Qatar and the United Arab. Qatar hit the headlines over the weekend after Trump said he was willing to accept a luxury Boeing 747-8 jumbo jet as a gift from the wealthy state's ruling family. The U.S. president is expected to announce deals with the three countries that will touch on artificial intelligence, expanding energy cooperation, and could include new arms sales to Saudi Arabia. The Trump administration earlier this month announced initial approval to sell $3.5 billion worth of air-to-air missiles for Saudi Arabia's fighter jets. Trump is trying to show that his transactional strategy for international politics is paying dividends, as he faces criticism from Democrats who argue that his global tariff war and approach to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine are isolating the U.S. from its allies. Saudi Arabia and fellow OPEC Plus nations have already helped their cause, with Trump during the early stages of his second term by boosting oil production. The U.S. president sees cheap energy as a key way of lowering costs and stemming inflation at home. Israel exclusion raises eyebrows. The Trump administration's decision to not schedule a trip to Israel during this tour has raised questions about Washington's stance towards its longtime ally. Several analysts have said the choice may reflect Trump's priorities being focused on economic benefits for the U.S. rather than broader diplomacy or security issues. The main message coming out of this, at least as the itinerary stands today, is that the governments of the Gulf are in fact stronger friends to Trump than the current government of Israel at this moment, said William Wexler, a senior director at the Atlantic Council, a U.S. think tank. Before this trip to the Middle East, Trump announced that Washington was halting a nearly 2-month U.S. airstrike campaign against Yemen's Houthis, saying the Iran-backed rebels have pledged to stop attacking ships along a vital global trade route. The U.S. did not notify Israel, which the Houthis continued to target of the agreement before Trump publicly announced it. It was the latest example of Trump leaving the Israelis in the dark about his administration's negotiations with common adversaries. In March, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was not informed by the Trump administration about his talks with Hamas over the war in Gaza until after they had begun. Netanyahu also only found out about the ongoing U.S. discussions with Iran when Trump announced them during an Oval Office visit by the Israeli leader last month. U.S. Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff said last week that he envisaged progress soon on expanding the Abraham Accords, a set of deals brokered by Trump in his first term in which Arab states including the UAE, Bahrain, Sudan, and Morocco recognized Israel. However, Trump's ultimate goal of Saudi-Israel normalization is highly unlikely given that Riyadh has made clear it wants U.S. security guarantees, assistance with the kingdom's nuclear program, and progress on a pathway to Palestinian statehood in exchange. There appears to be no prospect of making headway on a Palestinian state with the Israel-Hamas war raging and recent Israeli threats to take control of all of Gaza.